Hey Internet, it is Sean, the Household Gamer, and today we are going to be unboxing the One Born Every Minute box. It's got some very cool models in it. Let's take a look here. It's got Desper Leroux and then 3 Hucksters. I really like the renders of these models. Back when Malifaux started in first edition, the models were a lot more cartoony. Draw your attention to the original Seamus or the original Teddy. And I like that these models kind of come back to that cartooniness. Take a look at long-necked guy here. I love long-necked guy. He looks amazing. These, 30 millimeters. That's a scheme token. Cut that out, put it on a 30 mil base, you got yourself a scheme token. Super cool, super easy. Let's open up. Alright, here's our Huckster sprue. Here's our Desper Leroux sprue. Here's our bases. And here's our cards. So let's take a look at Desper Leroux sprue. That cloak is one nice big piece. Looks like the body pieces will inset into the inside of that cloak. The one piece that I think might give us trouble is his little rope on the bottom here. Look how skinny that is. Those things have a tendency to snap when you're pulling them off the sprue. I'm going to show you how I do it and how you can be careful and not to hurt your pieces on the way out. Here's the Huckster sprue. Oh, look how cool that guy's cloak is. That's Mr. Grizzled guy. There is the Lady Huckster. Here is Long Neck guy. Where's that long neck? There it is up in the upper left-hand corner. I did not realize that Malifaux models were made in Thailand now. That's new information. When I'm separating these models from their sprues, when at all possible, I will use clippers to get the great big pieces off. You want to take the flat side of your clippers and put it up against the keeper side of the model. You want to get it as close to the model as possible. Let's snip that off. Don't just try and wiggle this off and rip it. This is going to do way better for you. If I put the clippers in here, chances are I'm going to ruin it. So I'm going to take my nicest and sharpest knife. I want you to find the point where this joins and take a careful look where these join. Let's see. You can see right here, that looks like it's going to be part of the model. There's what wants to come off. You just, in one motion, pull it towards you. Don't try and do it all at once. You are working your way through the plastic and eventually it comes off clean. Let's do it with this one. Just a little bit of pressure. You don't have to put your muscles behind it. You're going to let the blade do the work. There we go. Ooh. I did that. See me doing that just a little bit too hard? Almost ripped the piece off. Don't do this over a shag carpet, people. Look at this tiny little piece of hair. How do they do that? Always check your sprue for that one tiny little piece. How easy would it be to miss this? Alright, and now be careful when you do this because this comes off. It's going to go flying. There you are. Oh, I feel like a jeweler. So now you are going to go through and take a careful look at all the pieces where it came off the sprue. For instance, here is where one of the connection points was. I'm going to lightly, ever so lightly, shave at that. And there is also a mold line running up his head. The way I deal with the mold lines is, rather than scraping it with the blade as though you were shaving your face, I'm just going to put the blade at a 90-degree angle and just scrape along the line. And that comes right off. If you attempt to do it, if you attempt to cut the line off, you're going to wind up cutting more of your model than you want. Mold lines are the worst. They so appear when you're painting that if you really take your time and clean your model up before you start, you're going to be much happier with the results. I'm going to go through and clean up the rest of these pieces, and then I'm going to start putting them together. Now, despite the fact that these weird models are famous for being a zillion tiny little pieces, the zillion tiny little pieces almost always fit together seamlessly. So what I like to do is go through each of the joins on the model and run a little test, A, to make sure I'm putting the piece in the right place, and to make sure that I got everything out of the way that needs to get out of the way. This leg is going to go right here. Fits beautifully. This leg slides up in here. Look at that join. Look how nicely that goes together. It's as if a computer cut this. Let's do his arm with a rope in it. The nice thing is, when you're assembling these, when you're doing it with model glue, you do have a little bit of leeway time before it sets up. There we go. That's going to go in the other hand. Whoop. So we are using Testor's Model Cement, which is really the only thing that you need to be using. It's super cheap and super effective on these models. I'll be applying the glue to the pieces with this pen. Put a little dab of glue on my palette. Now this is going to dry up. I put a little blob on. This is going to dry up before I get through all of it, but that's okay. This stuff is cheap. So what I like to do is take a wee little bit with my pen. Make sure you get a little glue string out of the way, and I am going to apply it very sparingly to the places where I'm going to put the legs. A little of this stuff goes a long way. You do not need to put too much on, and this is going to fuse these pieces of plastic together. I don't know if some people will use super glue for this kind of job. Not necessary, or Gorilla Glue. This is exactly what you want to be using. So we're going to pop this leg in here. You don't even hardly need to apply that much pressure. You just sort of stick it there, and then my least favorite thing about the glue is strings. Let's get this piece in. Oh, Desper. Since those feet are going on his base, let's take out a base. Make sure, here's what I like to do is, once I got legs on, I like to put it on the base and make sure that both feet are flat on the ground. Indeed they are. And when we got our glue out, I'm going to put my pin. Desper here, actually, one of the easier models. Weird models I put together. Sometimes they can be downright infuriating, but this guy's going together nice. And remember, we had that rope that went into his hand, so we're just going to put a little dot of glue right there. Normally I do this under a magnifying glass. I'm working with the GoPro here, so I have a GoPro in between me and my quarry. Alright, we're going to let those two connection points sit for a second. Remember, when you're assembling, to try not to grab the piece by something you just connected. Try not to grab it by the legs. Oh, these little hairs. Sort of let him sit up for a second before I put him on the base. All right, put a little dabble do you on the bottom of your toesies there. Let's get this dude on his base. All right, Desper. Now also mind, when you're putting a model on a base, sort of take a look at it from a bird's eye view. Make sure no part of the model is escaping past the base too far. If you got swords and spears and stuff flying out at all directions, it's going to make the model that much harder to store. In fact, I should probably follow my own advice here. This little knob at the end of the rope here, those are two of his fingers. See that little slot at the end of his wrist? Come on, GoPro. That is where that fits in. It's a perfect fit. It's going to make the rope go exactly where you want it to, but you got to make sure that this piece is shaved off so it still fits in there. That's almost too much. Okay. Maybe I should have done this one last, huh? Okay, see those fingers? Whoa. I'm just going to hold on to that for a second. Oh, how nice. Look at that. Beautiful. I'm not going to touch him at all. Just leave him right there. That's pretty cool. A little bit on the shoulders. A little bit in that pocket. Alright, let's get cloaked. Oh, it just fits on there so perfectly. Oh, I just want to die. So perfect. Ooh, look at this Robin Hood looking sumbitch. He's cool. Alright, one final little bitty bit. Don't forget your hat. Okay, guys, do the hat. Do this bit before you put the cloak on. I'm gonna break my own rule again here. Just dip it into the frippin' glue, the last of my glue. Pull the hairs off. Alright. In you go. Oh! Just barely making that connection. Yeah, I should have done this bit first. Kids, do the hat part first. Bit of a seam there. I'm not crazy about that. Oh, that's okay. Well, paint will cover that. There you have Desper Larrow.